chamber to the people. Let the voices ring. Laws are made. Debates take the wing.
I know we are going to be reposed with responsibilities.
Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Watch the Senate and the House of Representatives, where decisions flow. The Parliament, the place to know. The Parliament. See power at play. The Parliament, your window into democracy at work, only on Global Television. Hello and welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament, which deliberates on legislative policies from the chambers of the National Assembly to the voices shaping Nigeria's democratic journey. Welcome once again. I am Anieti Patrick. Each week we bring you the latest decisions, debates and developments from the heart of the legislature, the bills shaping national policy, the motions addressing citizens' concerns and the oversight actions holding governments accountable. On this episode, following growing concerns over declining services and worsening infrastructure on key rail corridors, the Senate has set up an ad hoc committee to probe the award and execution of railway contracts across the nation. The decision was taken after lawmakers raised alarm over disruptions on the Kano-Kaduna rail line. The resolution followed a point of order raised by Senator Abdul Ningi, who drew the Senate's attention to what he described as the tragic decline in operations on the Kano-Kaduna rail corridor. He told the chamber that passenger services on the routes have dropped to just one trip per day, while cargo movement time has nearly doubled.
Told me when they started commuting, they were commuting 10,000 passengers in a day. Last 2 weeks, Mr. President, I visited Kaduna like I used to visit Kaduna with the railway. And what I found and discovered was simply a tragic Nigerian story. I ventured into the leader of the railway, that is the manager, and he rendered these statistics to me. First, he told me they were committing 10,000 passengers, and because of the terrible nature of Kaduna-Abuja road, most people come from Kaduna and walk and travel back to Kaduna. The 10,000 passengers they were doing a day was reduced to about 800 to 900. The 10 shuttling that we're doing a day was reduced, Mr. President, 2 times in a day. And I was made aware that while the railway was working on full capacity, they were, of course, creating a revenue of close to 1.8 billion monthly. The story I'm about to reel out, Mr. President, that at this moment, there is no live cargo except one that goes to Kaduna and sleep and come back in the morning to Abuja. What that tells you, I was a subcommittee chairman of SHAPI, the government of Goodluck Jonathan then, from billions of naira into that revenue, into that airline, railway. But what is amazing and Nigerians are unaware of is that everything that came in terms of the cargo and coaching were second-handed.
Supporting the concern, Senator Adamu Aleru said persistent bandit attacks have caused extensive damage to rail facilities, contributing significantly to the reduction in train operations.
That the number of trips has dropped drastically from 5 to only 1. And this is simply because the bandits have damaged the truck. And they have vandalized the trucks, and it takes a lot of time and resources. And these resources are not available. As you rightly know, even contractors that have finished their jobs, they are now finding it difficult to get paid. So the same problem is now extending to the services like Nigerian Railway Corporation. We are on it. I called the Minister of Transportation and also the MD Railway Corporation to discuss this issue almost on a weekly basis. And I have been putting a lot of pressure on him that, look, this rail line used to be the pride of the nation.
However, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, dismissed claims that inadequate funding was the primary challenge, insisting that poor quality infrastructure and substandard execution of contracts were at the heart of the problem. He stressed the need for a thorough legislative investigation into how railway projects were designed, awarded, and implemented.
He pointed out that they were conveying about 10,000 people a day, and the people paid. So where did the money go to? And then we also borrowed billions and billions to Putin from China. Why would they sell us second-hand rail coaches? What about the rail tracks? Why second-hand? So we have a responsibility as a Senate, founded in the Nigerian Constitution, to ask questions, to look into these things, and to correct them. We have always said that we're a corrective parliament. So we must look into these things and let Nigerians know where they went wrong. And if there are people that kept the money for us, saved the money for us to buy the second-hand ones, then we get them to bring back the money. From their hands alone, we can recover enough money to repair the coaches you are talking about, if we need to repair them. Or we ask for a total refurbishment. That's why we want a holistic look into this. So the distinguished Senator Adams Oshimole, if he's here, we had set up a committee under you to look into this railway system. Look at the rail tracks, look at the coaches and everything, and why they were failing. And why it would take, like he said, 3.5 hours for something that should take 25 minutes to Kaduna by the modern railway standard.
The Senate says the ad hoc committee will examine railway project designs, funding patterns, execution standards, and maintenance frameworks, with a view to restoring efficiency and safety across Nigeria's rail network. The Senate has also moved to strengthen Nigeria's emergency healthcare response, calling for compulsory stocking of anti-venom and other life-saving antidotes in hospitals across the country. Lawmakers say the move is critical to preventing avoidable deaths, especially in high-risk communities prone to snake bites and similar emergencies. The resolution followed a point of order raised by Senator Idiat Adebule, representing Lagos West, who drew attention to the tragic death of young Nigerian Ifunanya Nwangene after a snake bite incident.
Emergency, including snake bite, scorpion, sting, poison, drug overdose, and other form of envenomation, all of which required immediate administration for specific antidotes and emergency medicines in both public and private school hospitals in order to prevent avoidable death and irreversible health complications. Further note that with grave concern, the tragic and avoidable death of Mrs. Ifunanya Nwagene, who reportedly died following a snake bite in Abuja recently, thereby revealing serious gaps in emergency preparedness and antidote availability within public and private hospitals in Nigeria. Aware that the World Health Organization classifies snake bite envenoming as a neglected tropical disease and underscore the critical importance of timely access to safe and effective antivenoms in public and private hospitals, particularly in countries such as Nigeria, where snake bite incidents remain prevalent.
The Senate unanimously backed the proposal, urging that compliance with minimum antivenom and antidote stock requirements be made a prerequisite for licensing new hospitals and renewing existing operating licenses nationwide.
Because we are supposed to have antidotes to take care of such situation. So, while we are condoling the family of the late woman, we have to be proactive as a government. I see no reason why most of our medical centers and hospitals all over the place shouldn't have medication for snake bites.
We don't have to wait until there's a fatality through snake bites. This is a lesson for us to be proactive, that we must take healthcare very serious. It is tragic that the deceased went the way she died, but the bigger lesson for us is a need for us to have in place policies that must drive our healthcare. The fatalities that are caused by snake bites can be very painful and indeed avoidable.
Treatment of snake bites and such other health challenges. Mr. President, for some of us who are from farming communities, who are easily exposed to snake bites, I found this motion very, very important because many a times victims of a snake bite have to move all the ways from the villages to the state capital before they are able to access treatment. If these drugs are made available to our health centers across the length and breadth of the Federation, such needless journeys seeking medical attention at state capitals wouldn't be necessary. And I think government has it as a duty to provide health care to all citizens across board.
In his remarks, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, described the incident as deeply saddening, condoling with the bereaved family and Nigerians at large. He led lawmakers in observing a minute of silence in honor of the late Ifunanya.
Prayer 2. Urge the Federal Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to ensure procurement, quality assurance, proper storage, and nationwide availability of safe, effective, and affordable antivenoms and critical antidotes for use in public and private hospitals with priority attention to high-risk regions. This is very good. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer.
The Senate says the resolution is aimed at closing critical gaps in emergency care and ensuring that preventable deaths from snake bites and similar incidents are drastically reduced across the country. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajudeen Abbas, says the federal government's decision to concession critical national assets in the transport and maritime sectors was driven by the need to improve efficiency, attract private investments, modernize infrastructure, enhance service delivery, and boost government revenue. Abbas made this known while inaugurating an ad hoc committee to investigate and appraise the performance of concessionaries operating federal airports and seaports terminals, as well as related shipping activities from 2006 to 2025. The Speaker, represented by a member of the House, Lori Kwamoti, said the review has become necessary nearly 2 decades after the commencement of the concession agreement. Kwamoti stressed that the exercise is aimed at ensuring accountability, transparency, and the protection of national interests, and not to undermine private sector participation. He tasked the committee with examining concession agreements, assessing revenue remittances and other benefits to the federal government, and reviewing compliance with contractual, regulatory, and safety obligations.
The scope of this committee's assignment is broad and critical. It includes, but is not limited to, 1. An examination of the terms and conditions of concession agreements entered into from 2006 to 2025. An assessment of revenue flows, remittances, and other beneficial benefits accruing to the federal government and its agencies.
Chairman of the committee, Akintayo Kolawole, assured that the panel would strengthen governance, promote accountability, and improve service delivery in the maritime sector, adding that relevant stakeholders in both the public and private sectors would be engaged. The chairman of the Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission, Dr. Mohammed Shehu, described the assignments as timely and pledged the Commission's full support to ensure improved revenue accruals to the federal government and the Federation account.
I call on all members of the committee and all stakeholders we shall engage to approach this mandate with the highest sense of duty, professionalism, and commitment to national interest. I am confident that through rigorous oversight, robust evidence-based analysis, and constructive engagement,
what we are always after is how can more revenue be mobilized into the Federation account as well as to the federal government. And I think this subcommittee and its assignment is timely, is apt, and I believe that the Commission will give its 110% support.
The House of Representatives says the findings of the committee will help determine whether existing concession agreements have delivered value for money and protected Nigeria's economic interests. The Senate's Minority Caucus has dismissed reports that the National Assembly has scrapped electronic transmission of election results from the ongoing Electoral Act amendment process. The caucus says the provision was not only retained but clarified to remove ambiguities in existing law. The Minority Caucus of the Senate has insisted that electronic transmission of election results remains firmly part of the Electoral Amendments Bill currently before the National Assembly. Addressing journalists at the National Assembly, Senate Minority Leader Senator Eyinaya Abaribe dismissed claims suggesting that lawmakers voted against electronic transmission of results. He explained that the Senate merely refined the language of the provision, replacing what he described as the vague term transfer used in the 2022 Electoral Act with a clearer and more explicit reference to electronic transmission.
It will be necessary to make a clarification of what happened yesterday, to put the records straight. Yesterday, the Senate did not, I repeat, did not pass transfer of results, which was in the 2022 Act. What we passed, and which the Senate President himself, when he was doing a clarification sitting on his chair is transmission of results. And I need to make this very clear. Every one of us who is a senator, who has the privilege to represent a senatorial district, came here under the trust of their senatorial zone. And the reason for us to go into a closed session was so that we can tidy up all the niggling things inside there. And when we now come back to plenary to pass it, that we will pass it without any rancor. I can assure you, on my honor and the honor of all of us who are standing here, that both the Electoral Committee of the Senate, then the Ad hoc Committee of the Senate, and also in the executive session that we had, that we all agreed on section 63, which is electronic transmission of votes, or electronic transmission of results. Transmit, not transfer. What is in 2022 is transfer. And we don't want a law that is vague. We don't want a law that will be misinterpreted by anybody. We want a law that is clear, concise, and can be interpreted by all, and that is unambiguous. So it is electronic transmission of results. Yes, thank you.
Senator Abaribe further disclosed that an ad hoc committee was constituted to review the electoral reform reports before lawmakers resolved contentious issues during a closed executive session. He also clarified that the harmonization between the Senate and the House of Representatives versions of the bill is yet to be completed, noting that the Senate must first formally adopt its votes and proceedings before the conference committee can fully commence work.
The harmonization committee was set up also yesterday because when the House version and the Senate version differ, because there were so many other things, including timelines, that now differ, you set up a harmonization. Those harmonization is what you use to make sure that you come to one single document which the president will now sign. So that is where we are at the moment. But I need to add one further thing so that Nigerians can rest assured. After our session, plenary session yesterday, we adjourned, but did not come back to pass the votes and proceedings. And that is our rule, and you all who are here, you know it. The harmonization committee cannot meet because the document that we use to go to the harmonization is the document passed by us and ratified by the votes and proceedings. So there's still one more step left by the Senate to take. After we pass the votes and proceedings, in which we are going to insist and ensure that what we passed, which is electronic transmission, is there, then the harmonization will meet. What now happens in harmonization is simple.
The Senate had earlier set up a conference committee to reconcile differences between its version of the Electoral Amendments Bill and that passed by the House of Representatives. Let's take a breather here, and on the flip side, we'll bring you more unfolding at the National Assembly. It's good to have you back. At the committee level, the House of Representatives has intensified its probe into agricultural subsidies and intervention funds, summoning key government agencies over alleged gaps in accountability spanning a 10-year period. The House Ad Hoc Committee investigating agricultural subsidies, intervention funds, aids and grants has summoned the Auditor General of the Federation, the Ministers of Finance and Agriculture, the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission over the utilization of funds released for agricultural programs between 2015 and 2025. The summons followed what lawmakers described as incomplete documentation and weak accountability records presented at a public hearing at the National Assembly. Chairman of the committee, Jamo Aminu, expressed dissatisfaction with the failure of the Office of the Auditor General to submit comprehensive audit reports on several agricultural subsidy and intervention schemes.
There is no figures from your side. You have not indicated any figure here stating that it investigated or your attention was brought on ABCD, on embezzlement or whatever, on social amount.
Responding, a deputy director from the Office of the Auditor General, Mohammed Adamu, told the committee that delays in producing the audit reports were due to the non-availability of critical documents from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture.
And in their financial statements, I'm not sure whether they have submitted their financial statement to my office, but it is another department that is in charge of that. When I get to the office, I will go and confirm if they have submitted the account for this year to our audit.
Representatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria and the EFCC also appeared before the panel. While the committee commended the Central Bank of Nigeria for its level of cooperation, it said further scrutiny would continue. The EFCC disclosed that investigations into several agricultural fund-related cases are ongoing.
So it's going to have multiple dates, and because we want to give you a data that will be not smaller, but a compressed data that will show you what you really want. Because under Access, we can have 20, 30, or even 40 rows.
Following the hearing, the committee directed the Auditor General as well as the Ministers of Agriculture and Finance to appear before it on February 3rd. Lawmakers warned that failure to comply would attract legislative sanctions in line with the powers of the National Assembly. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating agricultural subsidies, intervention funds, aids and grants has summoned the Central Bank of Nigeria, the National Bureau of Statistics and key financial institutions over alleged non-compliance with its probe. The committee expressed dissatisfaction with the level of cooperation so far. The resolution followed a motion raised by the deputy chairman of the committee, Sunday Umeha, during an investigative hearing held in Abuja. Umeha expressed concern that despite several invitations and official letters, the affected agencies and some financial institutions failed to honor the committee's summons.
That I am constrained to move this motion to compel NISAL MFP, Central Bank of Nigeria, SunTrust Bank, Stanbic IBTC Bank, National Bureau of Statistics to appear before this committee. Mr. Chairman, I also move that all the relevant processes for issuance of relevant summons on these aforementioned agencies and of financial institutions.
Earlier at the hearing, representatives of Jais Bank, Unity Bank, and other financial institutions who appeared before the panel were unable to provide some key documents requested by the lawmakers. The chairman of the ad hoc committee, Jamo Adamu, subsequently directed the banks to submit detailed records of inflows and outflows of agricultural intervention funds, as well as comprehensive information on beneficiaries of the programs.
Colleagues paginated. I did the pagination myself.
I will do the pagination, sir.
So please, this is not acceptable. If you want to come before us, you should come before us. You cannot be going front and forth. You understand? I tried to even paginate. I thought you have that from introduction up to 16th.
The committee also questioned the transparency and accountability surrounding the disbursement of the funds, stressing that the investigation is aimed at ensuring that agricultural interventions reach genuine farmers. Responding to the lawmakers' queries, officials of some financial institutions acknowledged gaps in their documentation and pledged to cooperate fully with the committee.
We will seek the indulgence of the committee
to enable us, put the documents in the order you just mentioned, and probably make an appearance in the next sitting coming up.
And that's the much we can take on this edition of the program. See you next week on the Parliament on Global Television on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. To stay connected, kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. Thank you to my production team. Until we come your way the next time, I am Annie T. Patrick. Bye for now.